Thank you guys for coming. My name is Dave Lawler. I'm delighted to talk to you about our Phase 6 conclusions here today. It's amazing. Anyone know how long we've been doing this ITF thing now? I hear 7 years over here. Do I hear 12? 4 years in the fall. You know, this is amazing. You know, people can start school and finish school in 4 years, and here we are continuing to run ahead with the initiative. It's exciting. I just finished a meeting with Vice Admiral Mel Williams, Jr., who we recently recruited to head up one of our key initiatives around military and veteran affairs. He was a Vice Admiral in the Navy, a very accomplished man, lots of offers to do something after finishing up in the Energy Department, and chose as a strong first position to come and work at GW. So this is just one small example of the many things that are happening as a result of ITF and your good work. Many of you have been here for the duration, and I am very grateful for the amount of time that you guys put in. There's a slide here in a moment, but I just want to highlight that we've spent over 20,000 hours of manpower in the last 3.5 years on ITF, which is significant. We're up to 60 initiatives now that are being managed by groups of anywhere from 2 or 3 people to a couple of dozen people, and we are really having an impact at the university. So thanks for joining today. Most of you, I think, understand the protocol in terms of what we're going to do. I'll give you a quick overview on ITF generally and where we are, introduce you to the 7 initiatives that we came up with this particular round, and then you'll have an opportunity to fine-tune it. And I must say that this amount of time that we spend here in the next hour and a half is very important in terms of crafting these ideas. You know, these ideas came about with a smaller group of people, and usually in these showcases, they are tweaked in such a manner that they are always made better. And so I always look forward to reading the reviews from each of the tables on the initiatives, updating the white papers before they go to President Knapp, and reflecting your contributions. So if you would kindly do that again today, we greatly appreciate it. So with that, this is a slide that we started 3.5 years ago. We said it was important that we captured kind of the essence of ITF, at least from a financial standpoint, in one place. And this is that slide. We show this slide to the Finance and Audit Committee every quarter. We share it at the Faculty Senate, various deans meetings, and across the university. So you're all probably accustomed to it at this point. But for those of you who are new to the university or haven't seen it before, let me explain it to you briefly. The 2 blue bars on the left and middle side reflect what we have identified in terms of net revenue opportunities. When we talk about the 60 initiatives are really harnessed in that leftmost chart in the year FY15. And right now we're up to $56 million. Remember, our target is $60 million, so we're within sniffing room of that, and maybe by the time we leave today, one of you will contribute another $4 million idea, and we can leave here very happy and filled with sugar and lemonade from the back stand. This would be a good afternoon. The middle bar takes those same initiatives and it allows them to mature. So as you can imagine, when we started this 3.5 years ago, we had several years that we could mature these initiatives before FY15 rolled around. So we had time to start them up, progress them, reach maturity. With ideas that are coming about here later in the game, we have a shorter runway to FY15, and so maturity will take longer. So in some cases we have FY17 as the maturity date, in others it's FY19. So essentially it lets that revenue play mature, stabilize, and at that point, we're now up to $83 million identified. So sometimes, you know, the salesmanship and the quota of, you know, possibilities can be impressive, but until we really start harvesting those ideas and spending them, you know, there's some things that are left out there. And so in that regard, I'm pleased to say that by the end of this fiscal year, which, believe it or not, is only 2 months away, we will have spent $34 million in aggregate since the start of ITF. That's $34 million that has been harvested, budgeted, and cash that has gone out the door from GW as a result of ITF. That's a lot of money, $34 million, and we're very proud of that. On an annual basis, we're now spending $17 million. We're going to be very close to $20 million in FY14, and that's on a recurring basis. And you can see there some of the things that we're investing in. The three major categories that we're spending ITF proceeds on are faculty recruitment, research startups, and then generally academic programs. So we're plowing that money back into the core mission of the university, and we're doing a lot of really good things. We briefed the Faculty Senate recently on that with a heavy emphasis on the investment side, and they were delighted. A while ago, I was given an update to the Finance and Audit Committee and realized that to try and explain all of these 60 initiatives can be difficult, right? There's a lot of diversity amongst them. And so rather than burdening them with a long list of 53 at the time initiatives, we clustered them. And so if you look at the clusters, the obvious first one is cost reduction. So ITF in large part was about efficiencies. And so you can see some of the initiatives there, whether it's strategic sourcing or the temp agency, telecommuting lease space, internal consulting, and things of that nature. They fall within the category of doing things within the university in a more efficient manner, so cost reductions. To the right of that, you see professional development, and here is where we have an opportunity to take not only the undergraduate and graduate program enhancements or expansions, but also executive education and so forth. To the right of that, capital optimization, you can see that housing optimization and really just the use of our facilities in a fuller manner are what are covered and included in that area. Mode and access, when we talk about online and hybrid or look at winter enrichment, things of that nature, the way in which we're reaching students, this is the category that we catch that. Globalization, this is a key strategic focus for the university going forward, and initiatives such as study abroad, international summer, the international gap year, an additional focus on increasing the number of international undergraduates that we bring on board, essentially doubling the number of international students. That's captured. And then we have a new global experience degree where students will spend 2 years in Foggy Bottom and 2 years in other countries. That's included. Military and veteran affairs is one that we started in phase 5, so going back almost a year ago, and we added in November several others. It was really the key focus for phase 5 is well up and running, and we've got a couple of dozen people that have been working for the last 6 months or so on that. It's very, very exciting, and we have a great leader in Admiral Williams on board to lead that. Healthy Campus is one that really stands by itself, and you'll hear a lot more about that here in the months ahead as we start to roll out some of the specific programs around Healthy Campus. And speaking of Healthy Campus, we have our fearless leader, Dr. Schoenfeld, that came in here, who's been providing some great leadership on that initiative here in the months past. Research and giving. So if you remember back at the outset with ITF, we said it had really 3 prongs. The first was new revenue opportunities and cost efficiencies, and the latter 2, the first of which is incremental indirect cost recovery on the research side, and then the payout on new gifts. And so those last 2, they take longer, right? It takes longer to bring research in and then to mature the research and the indirect cost recovery associated with it. And as you would expect on giving, it takes some time for those gifts to come in and to grow as the endowment is managed, and then we're only recognizing the payout on those gifts. So you get essentially 5% of whatever that nominal value is for it. But we're continuing to progress on all 3 fronts quite well. Here, just to go back to my comment on how the funds are being invested, you can see the 34 million, which is that aggregate number that I spoke about earlier. And you can see that we're spending on academic support generally about $12.9 million. The next largest is faculty at about 8.4. Then we have research support at 6.3, and we've set aside approximately $6.4 million to support the strategic plan that the provost and his staff have been working on here in the past year and a bit. A large part of the funding mechanism for the strategic plan will come from ITF, and so there's a strong linkage in that regard. Again, to the right of this chart, you can see some of the additional detail in each of those subcategories. And so as painful as it is, or difficult as it is for a finance guy to break away from the highly quantifiable components of ITF, I tried. And so we have some intangibles. The culture, we are changing the culture. People are thinking differently about what we can do as a university. And I would say the mindset is heavily how we do it and when we do it, and what the risks are associated with it. And there's very little discussion today about the obstacles and all the ways in which we can't do things. So I think the culture has changed in that people are results-oriented, they're committed to making these things happen, and it's a more regular part of how we do business here at the university. You can see, if you walk around the university and see the faculty or the startups, the things that are benefiting from the investment in ITF, it's across the university. And while there's a lot going on in that domain, we really want to celebrate it more visibly than we have in the past. And so we're toward the end of an initiative to get video testimonials of people that are the direct beneficiary of these investments, and that video series will be published here very shortly. And we really want to play that up. You know, the concept is ITF funds at work, and we want to take you into the labs of researchers that were hired with ITF. We want to have you hear from the students that have had enhanced either curriculum, scheduling, or advising, the new faculty that have come on board, what their experience has been and what they're bringing to GW and how that's impacting their students. So we really want to take this as a key focus going forward to just celebrate these successes, so it's not just kept in a report format or in a smaller group. These are things that we regularly talk about in the media across GW and outside of GW. So look to see those here in the weeks ahead. And I would say another thing is our comfort with technology and embracing new technology and changing the way processes work. There are many things that we've done where we've brought technological solutions to bear and replaced highly manual processes. Several, for example, within the finance realm, we've adopted a travel portal. Any of you used that so far? Good. So you're seeing the benefits of that. There's more robust contract negotiation occurring behind the scenes. I'm delighted to say that there's no more yellow envelopes for P-card reimbursement. That was a personal victory to get rid of those ancient tools. And so now we can not only complete that electronically, but when you receive your itineraries, it will automatically dump it in your TripIt folder and automatically compile an expense reimbursement for you to submit at a click when you come back to the office. Enterprise solutions and business intelligence, we're really trying to take fancy words like big data and make that reality at GW, where we can be smarter about the decisions that we're making. So we are making a difference, and we're becoming more comfortable on the administrative side with using technology, and that's a direct byproduct of the work that we've done on ITF and the vision that collectively we have had in that regard. And then just to underscore the work of many, many people, 24,000 hours worth of work, and this number is climbing. That's about a 6-month-old number. We're probably closer to 27,000 hours of ITF work. That's a lot of time, and it's something that I think sets GW apart from a lot of others that have tried to do the same. Most other players, whether it's Berkeley or North Carolina or Michigan or others, have brought in external consultants and have tackled some of the same things, but I would argue, and the proof will be in history here, that ours will be more sustainable because it's grassroots, and I think that's true. So we'll see how that goes on a go-forward basis. I will say that there's a lot of soft benefits as well. The $7 million or so of consulting fees that were avoided by doing that organically through freed capacity internally is one. There's approximately another $8 million that is implicit in getting to that net number per initiative that is also an investment that we don't count. And so if you think of $100 of a gross contribution yielding $5 million net, we're only counting that $5 million net in that anchor slide that I shared earlier. We're not counting the $5 million of investments that are needed to generate that five, if that makes sense to you. And so that's another $8 million that we could put on top of that chart in terms of soft money. The other things that we're not counting are the things that we've done to be more efficient in terms of our negotiation for research spends. The reason we can't harness that is because we can't charge them more, then be efficient and slice off some extra money. We've got to, be able to compete more effectively at a lower net number. So it makes us more competitive when we're bidding on new grants or contracts. So with that, let me switch gears here briefly and introduce you to the new ideas. You can see the 7 on there, and I'll walk you through those here one by one. This is what we'll spend most of our afternoon doing at each of the tables. You'll see what's set up. We're going to do 3 rounds, and what are we at, Renee? 20 minutes per? I think we're going to do about 10 to 15 minutes per table. Speed dating is what we call it. And so, hear the concept, contribute your thoughts to each of them. What's good, what's bad, what you would change if you were king or queen for a day, and then we'll reflect those as we go. So the first, there's a lot happening economically and legislatively, and so it's important for the C-suite to stay up to date on these things. We all know that many people, many professionals, especially people in the C-suite, are very, very busy, and so we wanted to give them a crash course on up to 10 topics in a short window of time and have them come on campus, at least in the short term, and this may expand to go to different geographies, whether it's New York or Los Angeles in the future. Cover a variety of different topics, quick in and out, here's what you should be worrying about, and give them some context for key experts in this domain. The next is BYOD, not BYOB, BYOD, so it's bring your own device. This is happening more and more across America and indeed across the world, where individuals are bringing their smartphones or their tablets or the convergence of both and the minis to work, or these other devices that are devices of choice to the enterprise and wanting to use that as their primary productivity tool. And so we at GW are looking to move in this direction as well, where for example, if you were to be comfortable with an iPad keyboard type combination to allow you to bring that, avoid spending money on the 3 or 4 year refreshes and instead give a stipend for your device of choice, allowing IT direct costs to go down while also reducing the total spend that would happen on a device basis, and importantly at the same time allowing individuals the freedom to go with their tool of choice. And this is where people are already headed, so we want to be on board with that. Chargebacks. I was talking with a dean last week, and the dean was telling me how they were going to make a very important decision around telecommunications based on how much they got charged for the jack that was in the wall. And I had to explain that the chargeback on the jack in the wall is a false economy, and it doesn't really reflect the true economic cost to GW, and that you might actually be spending more money by doing what you're contemplating than what you think. And so we spend a lot of time and money every year trying to do the math to make sure that the allocations across the institution tie out and are reconciled, and it's really of little value. The argument is that overconsumption occurs if you don't charge people for bills, but I think by and large the cost effectiveness of not dealing with this far outweighs the overconsumption that may exist in pockets. My argument would be if you need one pencil, you're going to buy one pencil, you're not going to buy 4 pencils. And I think that's largely the case with chargeback. So we want to get rid of that, and it's a slow process, but has begun a while ago, and will continue to push forward in this regard. So look forward to that. Renewable energy and electricity. This is very exciting. The energy market globally has changed dramatically in the last 5 to 8 years, and will change dramatically in the next decade. And so we want to make sure that we're thoughtful about where energy is going, what our energy needs are, And where possible, if we can lock into forwards that are very favorable, i.e. pay our bill for the next 10 to 20 years in advance, or at least contractually agree to what we will pay, we think now is really a time of opportunity with energy prices where they are. ITF Scholarship Program. This is one I'm very excited about. About 8 months ago, I was asking myself again, how do we continue to gain momentum with faculty and students in particular? And so I had some great conversations with Michael Castleberry, who's the chair of the executive committee of the Faculty Senate, and we engaged in ways in which we could draw more faculty into ITF, and we're doing some good things in that regard. But also on the student side, the question was, how do we engage students? And the idea came up that, what if you paid a student's tuition for a year if they can bring $1 million net implementable idea? And $50,000 is still a lot of money, and I would imagine that the family and friends of those students would be perhaps captivated by that challenge. And so the idea, and you're hearing about it for the first time today, is that we launch a program that will award $50,000 per year towards tuition and fees every year in exchange for a $1 million net implementable idea that we agree is implementable. So we hope that this will spark some creativity and some feedback from the students. I would love to ask you guys to get the word out. This will be formally announced shortly, so maybe you can keep it under the hat for now, but you can do a slow roll or a soft roll, if you will. We want this to generate a lot of excitement and buzz around the campus, which will get a lot more people involved. So that's the vision and the hope for the scholarship. University mail management. So we dealt with the yellow envelopes. Now we need to deal with the orange and the brown envelopes and every other kind of envelope that still circulates with pieces of paper that take their time to get from desk to desk. In this digital age, there's very little that needs to still happen in paper, but we still are doing a lot and incurring a lot of expense to manage this. So we really want to re-engineer the entire inflow and outflow of paper across the university, and in the next 6 months we'll be looking at finding ways to tackle this particular one. On-site master's programs with partners. This is where we bring graduate degrees to key partners across the country and around the world. And we want to put a strategic plan in place that targets key industries and key partners there with the types of degrees that they would benefit from, and push those out. So that's what we have in terms of the 7 for this period. If you have questions, I'll ask you to bring those to the table. And Renee, if you have anything to add in terms of other instructions, I'll turn it over to you.
Please help yourself to cookies. Yeah, as Dave mentioned, what we'll do is we will go to our discussion sessions. We have 3 different sections. Over here by the door, we have renewable energy and electricity. In the center, we have the regulatory training certificate and end user device management. And over on by the wall, we have the on-site master's degree, university mail management, and elimination of chargebacks. So you can stay at the table you're at now, or if you'd like to move to a different table, feel free. We'll give you about 10 minutes to talk about the idea. Each table has a moderator who will explain the idea in a little bit of detail. You can provide constructive feedback, ask questions, raise concerns, and a scribe will take notes. We'll gather up all your notes and give them to Dave so he can review all of your feedback. After about 10 to 15 minutes, we'll let you know when the round's up and you can move to the next table and hear about the other sets of ideas. So I think the great thing is today everybody gets to hear about every idea, so that's very exciting. So go ahead and grab some punch and some cookies and let's get started.